Daniel Brooks adjusted the worn baseball cap low over his brow, studying his reflection in the window of an unremarkable gray sedan parked a block from Brooks Steakhouse. The disguise was simple jeans, a plain button-down shirt, scuffed, sneakers, but it stripped away the polished veneer of the man who'd built a culinary empire. Gone were the tailored charcoal suits, the Italian leather shoes, the subtle flash of a platinum watch that marked him as the founder of a steakhouse chain spanning 20 locations across 5 states. Tonight, in the heart of Chicago's bustling River North, he was just James Wilson, an ordinary customer craving a good steak. His pulse quickened with a mix of anticipation and unease. This was no casual dinner. It was a mission to uncover the truth about his flagship restaurant. 15 years ago, Daniel had opened the first Brooks Steakhouse in a modest storefront on the south side, pouring his heart into every detail, sourcing prime cuts, training staff, crafting recipes that married tradition with innovation. His father, a journeyman chef who taught him to grill the perfect ribeye, had instilled a guiding principle: food made with integrity nourishes more than the body. That ethos had fueled Daniel's rise, earning Brooks Steakhouse a reputation for quality and consistency. But as the chain grew, he'd been pulled into boardrooms and corporate deals, delegating the day-to-day to managers and regional directors. The distance was showing. Recent online reviews for the Chicago flagship were a troubling mix. Some praised bold new dishes. Others slammed inconsistent service, cold food, and long waits. Time to see what's really happening, Daniel thought, locking the sedan borrowed from his assistant to avoid recognition and heading toward the restaurant's glowing entrance. The familiar warmth of Brooks Steakhouse enveloped him as he stepped inside. Amber lighting cast a golden hue over rich mahogany paneling, and the faint sizzle of searing meat mingled with the smoky aroma wafting from the open kitchen. It was a Friday night, the dining room comfortably full, but not overcrowded, exactly as the reservation system should dictate. Daniel's practiced eye scanned the space. The carpet was clean but showed faint wear near the hostess stand. Tables were neatly set, though he caught a busboy hastily adjusting silverware at an empty station. Most diners seemed content, their conversations punctuated by the clink of wine glasses and the soft laughter of a good meal. Nothing screamed disaster, but Daniel wasn't here for surface impressions. "Welcome to Brooks Steakhouse. Us?" Young hostess greeted, her smile practiced but warm. "Do you have a reservation?" "James Wilson, table for 1, Daniel replied, using the pseudonym he'd registered online. His voice was steady, but his heart thudded. This was his domain. Yet he felt like an outsider, testing the machine he'd built. The hostess checked her tablet and nodded. "Right this way, Mr. Wilson. We have a nice table by the window." Daniel followed, his gaze sweeping the room with a critic's precision. A server balanced plates with ease. A bartender poured a martini with flair. In the semi-open kitchen, chefs in crisp white coats moved like a well-rehearsed orchestra. One chef, younger than the others, caught his eye intense focus etched on his face as he plated a dish with meticulous care, arranging garnishes like an artist. Daniel made a mental note. That kind of dedication was rare. "Your server tonight is Sarah," the hostess said, placing a leather-bound menu before him. "She'll be right with you." Daniel nodded, settling into his chair. The table offered a perfect vantage point. The dining room to his left, the kitchen straight ahead. He opened the menu, though he knew every item by heart. He'd created most of them. Sarah approached, her smile genuine, her auburn hair tied back neatly. "Good evening, Mr. Wilson. I'm Sarah, and I'll be taking care of you. Our special tonight is Chef Nathan's bourbon-glazed ribeye with caramelized shallots and a blue cheese crust. It's been a hit with our regulars." "Chef Nathan?" Daniel asked, feigning ignorance, his curiosity piqued. "Our new executive." "Chef," Sarah said, her enthusiasm evident. "He started 3 months ago and's been shaking things up in a good way. His specials are incredible." "In that case, I'll try it," Daniel said, matching her smile. "Medium rare with the house salad to start." As Sarah left with his order, Daniel leaned back, observing the staff's rhythm. Most moved with purpose, but a subtle tension caught his attention near the kitchen. A server, placing an order ticket at the pass, exchanged sharp words with the young chef Nathan, presumably. The server gestured in frustration, then stormed off, while Nathan shook his head and returned to his grill. "Interesting," Daniel murmured, jotting a mental note. Something was off in the team dynamic. The house salad arrived promptly. Fresh greens, candied walnuts, dried cranberries, a light vinaigrette exactly the standard. Daniel nodded approval, but his focus shifted when the ribeye arrived 20 minutes later. It was a masterpiece, a perfect sear, the bourbon glaze glistening under the light, shallots arranged with precision. The first bite was a revelation, rich, balanced, the blue cheese adding depth without overpowering the beef. Daniel couldn't suppress a smile. This was better than his own recipes, a bold evolution of the Brooks Steakhouse philosophy. Elevated. Classics that honored tradition while pushing boundaries. Whoever Nathan was, he had talent. "How's everything, sir?" Sarah asked, returning to check on him. "Remarkable," Daniel answered honestly. "Compliments to the chef." Sarah beamed. "I'll let Chef Nathan know. He's particular about quality, which is why his dishes stand out." She hesitated, then added, "Though not everyone here appreciates his standards. Some staff find him demanding." Daniel raised an eyebrow, keeping his tone casual. "Demanding how?" Sarah shrugged, choosing her words carefully. "He's just very specific, wants things done right. Most of us respect that, but a few, well, they prefer the old way." She caught herself, smiling. "Anyway, can I get you anything else?" "The dessert menu, please," Daniel said, more to prolong his stay than out of hunger. As Sarah walked away, he noticed a table in the corner where diners checked their watches, their empty plates untouched by a server. In the kitchen, Nathan was questioning a line cook about an order, the cook responding with a dismissive shrug. The subtle friction was undeniable. Sarah returned with the dessert menu, recommending Nathan's deconstructed apple pie with brown butter ice cream. Unable to resist, Daniel ordered it. The dessert matched the ribeye's brilliance, familiar flavors reimagined with technical finesse. As he savored the last bite, Daniel decided to probe further. When Sarah brought the check, he leaned in. "The meal was outstanding. This chef Nathan seems like a real asset." Sarah's smile tightened slightly. "He's amazing. His ideas have brought in new customers." But she hesitated, glancing around. "Some staff think he's trying to change too much, too fast." "Quality takes effort," Daniel said, testing her. "Exactly," Sarah agreed, relaxing. "The regulars love him. Personally, I think he's what this place needed." Daniel paid, leaving a generous tip, and stepped outside into the cool Chicago night. In the sedan, he pulled out his phone, typing notes. Food exceptional, Nathan's. Specials a standout. Staff tension, Nathan versus some servers, cooks. Investigate further. One visit wasn't enough. He'd need to return different days, different shifts to piece together the puzzle. Nathan's talent was clear, but the undercurrent of resistance hinted at deeper issues. As he started the car, Daniel felt a familiar fire ignite. Brooks Steakhouse was his legacy, built on his father's values. Whatever was wrong, he'd fix it. Unbeknownst to him, the truth he'd uncover would shake not just his business, but the very foundation of his family. 3 days after his first undercover visit, Daniel Brooks pulled the borrowed sedan into a parking lot half a block from Brooks Steakhouse. A steady rain pattered against the windshield. The Chicago skyline blurred under a gray evening sky. It was a Tuesday, quieter than the bustling Friday he'd experienced, perfect for observing the restaurant's operations from a different angle. Daniel adjusted his baseball cap, swapped his glasses for contacts, and tugged on a nondescript jacket. Tonight he was James Wilson again, but instead of dining in, he'd placed a takeout order on Chef Nathan's bourbon-glazed ribeye, truffle mashed potatoes, and grilled asparagus. The food had been exceptional last time, but the staff tension he'd glimpsed gnawed at him. He needed answers. Stepping into the rain, Daniel hunched against the drizzle, his sneakers splashing through shallow puddles. The neon sign of Brooks Steakhouse glowed warmly, a beacon of comfort in the storm. Inside, the restaurant felt intimate, with fewer tables occupied and a softer hum of conversation. The familiar scents of seared beef and rosemary greeted him, but Daniel's focus was razor-sharp. He arrived 15 minutes early, deliberately giving himself time to observe from the small waiting area near the takeout counter. See what they do when they think no one's watching, he thought, channeling his father's old adage. Order for Wilson? He said to the hostess, a different woman from Friday, her smile brisk but professional. It'll be ready in about 10 minutes. She replied, checking her tablet. You can wait over there. She gestured to a row of cushioned chairs near the cash registers. Daniel nodded, settling into a seat with a clear view of the counter and the kitchen pass-through window. He pulled out his phone, pretending to scroll, but his eyes and ears were on the restaurant. Through the pass, he saw Nathan, unmistakable with his intense focus, calling out instructions to his line cooks. The kitchen moved with quiet efficiency, a stark contrast to the dining room's relaxed pace. At the registers, two young women handled payments, their name tags glinting under the light, Ashley Turner and Emily Parker. During a lull in customers, they leaned toward each other, voices low but audible in the quiet waiting area. Did you see Chef Perfect's special tonight? Ashley, the taller one with auburn hair, said, rolling her eyes. Bourbon this, truffle that. Thinks he's running a Michelin star joint in Paris. Emily, blonde and shorter, smirked. Brandon says that's the problem. Nathan's trying to turn this place into something it's not. Our regulars just want a good steak, not these fancy experiments. Daniel stiffened at the mention of Brandon, a name that sparked recognition. Brandon Walsh was the former sous chef at Brooks Steakhouse, passed over for the executive chef role before joining Prime Grill, their main competitor across town. His departure had been amicable, or so Daniel thought. He kept his expression neutral, ears straining. How's the plan going? Ashley asked, her voice dropping further. Perfectly, Emily replied, a sly edge to her tone. Brandon says if we keep it up, Nathan will either quit or get fired within a month. I swapped his specialty salt for table salt last week. You should have seen his face when he opened it mid-service. Ashley snickered. I've been adding 10 minutes to his ticket times. When customers complain, Stephen thinks Nathan's just slow. Daniel's blood ran cold, his grip tightening on his phone. Stephen Hayes, the manager he'd promoted 3 years ago, was either complicit or clueless. This wasn't just staff friction. It was deliberate sabotage, orchestrated to undermine Nathan. He fought the urge to confront them, years of business instinct urging patience. He needed more evidence, a clearer picture. Asterisk. Did you mess with the seafood delivery, like Brandon suggested? Emily asked. Yep, Ashley said. Changed it from Monday morning to afternoon in the system. Nathan had to scramble to prep for the evening rush. Stephen chewed him out for poor planning. Brandon's gonna owe us big when he gets Nathan's job, Emily said, grinning. He already got me VIP passes to that music festival. Says once he's running the kitchen, we'll get prime shifts and a cut of his bonus. Genius of him to stay tight with Stephen, Ashley added. Makes it all so easy. Daniel's jaw clenched. Stephen's involvement, even if indirect, was a betrayal of the trust Daniel had placed in him. Brooks Steakhouse was built on collaboration and excellence, not petty schemes for personal gain. Order up for Wilson, a voice called from the kitchen, snapping him back. Emily grabbed the takeout bag and brought it to the counter. That'll be $56.20, she said. Her smile as fake as the one she'd worn plotting against Nathan. Daniel paid. Studying her face, Emily Parker. He committed to memory, along with Ashley Turner. Enjoy your meal, Emily said, handing over the bag. I'm sure I will, Daniel replied evenly, betraying nothing. Outside, he set the bag on the passenger seat and sat motionless, the rain drumming on the sedan's roof. The conversation replayed in his mind, swapped ingredients, delayed orders, rigged schedules. No wonder reviews mentioned inconsistency. Nathan wasn't the problem. He was the target. Daniel pulled out his phone, typing detailed notes. Ashley and Emily sabotaging Nathan. Brandon Walsh, Prime Grill, orchestrating. Stephen possibly involved. Need more evidence. He started the car, his resolve hardening. One more visit wouldn't do. He'd return, varying times and roles, to map the full extent of this conspiracy. Over the next week, Daniel became a ghost in his own restaurant, each visit peeling back layers of deception. On a hectic Saturday night, he secured a bar seat, with a view of the kitchen pass nursing a whiskey neat. A perfectly cooked steak was returned, the server announcing with a smirk, "Customer says it's overcooked." Nathan cut into it, revealing a textbook medium-rare center. "This is exactly as ordered," he said, his voice steady despite visible frustration. Stephen approached, his tone condescending. "Another complaint, chef? That's the third tonight." "It's cooked correctly," Nathan insisted, showing the steak. "The customer's always right," Stephen said, waving him off. "Make another, and hurry. Table 12's appetizers are late." "I never got an order for 12, Nathan said, checking his tickets. From the bar, Daniel saw Ashley slide a ticket onto the completed spike when Nathan turned away, whispering to a server who nodded slyly. "Found it," Stephen said, pulling the ticket. "Marked as delivered. Keep better track, chef." Nathan's jaw tightened, but he nodded, refocusing. Daniel's stomach churned. The sabotage was relentless, designed to erode Nathan's credibility. During a quieter Wednesday lunch, Daniel dined in, ordering Nathan's special a dry-aged porterhouse with herb butter. The dish was flawless, but he overheard a busboy mutter to a waitress, "Food sat under the heat lamp 10 minutes because no one told Nathan it was ready. That's what Brandon wants make the new guy look bad." The most telling moment came during a Monday evening visit. Daniel arrived as Nathan was leaving through the back door, pausing in the dim parking lot. Alone, Nathan's shoulders slumped, his hand rubbing his face wearily. For a moment, he looked defeated, but then he straightened, his jaw set with determination, and walked to his car. The vulnerability pierced Daniel, stirring a memory of their teenage years. Nathan, stubborn and proud, refusing help with a broken bike, insisting he'd fix it himself. That resilience was unmistakable, but so was the toll of this invisible war. On his final visit, a busy Thursday dinner, Daniel met Liam, a young line cook who'd caught his eye for his loyalty to Nathan. Posing as a curious regular, Daniel struck up a conversation while waiting for takeout. "Chef Nathan seems talented," he said. Liam nodded, his voice earnest. "He's the best. His dishes bring in new customers, but some folks here don't like change. Stephen's hard on him, and a few servers. Well, they're not team players." "Like who?" Daniel pressed casually. Liam hesitated, then shrugged. "Ashley, Emily, a couple others. They're tight with Brandon, the old sous chef. Word is, they want him back." Liam's loyalty to Nathan was clear, a bright spot in the mess. Driving home, Daniel's mind raced. The sabotage was coordinated, vicious, and tied to a competitor. Nathan was fighting a battle he didn't fully understand, and Stephen's role, whether active or negligent, was unforgivable. Daniel needed hard evidence, security footage, order logs, anything to expose the plot without tipping his hand too soon. As the rain eased, he felt a protective instinct flare, not just for his restaurant, but for the chef whose talent shone despite the odds. Little did he know, the truth about Nathan would hit closer to home than he could imagine. The Chicago skyline was still cloaked in pre-dawn darkness as Daniel Brooks pulled into the underground garage of Brooks Steakhouse's corporate headquarters. The glass building loomed silent, its sleek modernity a far cry from the warm, wood-paneled dining rooms he built his empire on. After a week of undercover visits, Daniel's mind buzzed with the betrayal he'd uncovered. Ashley Turner and Emily Parker, two cashiers, sabotaging Chef Nathan under the direction of Brandon Walsh, a former sous chef now at rival Prime Grill. Worse, Stephen Hayes, the manager Daniel had trusted, was either complicit or willfully blind. The plot was clear, but Daniel needed hard evidence, security footage, order logs, anything to dismantle the conspiracy without tipping his hand. More than that, he needed to understand Nathan, the talented chef enduring this onslaught. Why? Did his resilience feel so familiar, like an echo of something Daniel couldn't place? He swiped his access card, the elevator humming as it carried him to the 10th floor. The Human Resources Department was deserted at 5:30 a.m., the only sound the faint hum of fluorescent lights. Daniel settled at a terminal in the secure records room, logging into the personnel system with his executive credentials. As owner, he rarely delved into individual employee files hiring below the general manager. Level was handled by regional directors, but today demanded answers. "Let's see who you really are, Chef Nathan," he murmured, his coffee mug warming his hands as he typed out. The system loaded the staff roster for the Chicago flagship. Daniel scrolled to the kitchen team, clicking on Nathan Harris, executive chef. The file opened, revealing a resume, performance reviews, and a scanned driver's license. The photo stopped him cold, the face staring back, intense eyes sharp. Jawline, a faint scar above the left eyebrow, was unmistakable. Daniel's breath caught, his coffee mug nearly slipping from his grasp. "It can't be," he whispered, zooming in on the license. The name read Nathan Harris, but the man in the photo was Nathan Brooks, his younger brother, estranged for 7 years. Memories flooded back, unbidden and sharp. Daniel teaching a teenage Nathan to sear a steak on their parents' patio, their father's laughter filling the summer air. The bitter arguments when Nathan, at 20, abandoned his business degree at the University of Illinois to enroll in the Culinary Institute of America. Their final, explosive fight 7 years ago, when Daniel offered Nathan a sous chef role at the first Brooks Steakhouse. "I don't want your charity," Nathan had shouted, his voice raw with defiance. "I won't be Michael Brooks's little brother who got a job because of his name. I'll make it on my own or not at all." That was the last time they'd spoken. Family gatherings grew tense, then non-existent as Nathan cut contact, pursuing his career far from Chicago. Daniel's. I scanned the resume, piecing together Nathan's journey. After graduating with honors from the Culinary Institute, Nathan had worked in Seattle and Portland, earning accolades at high-end restaurants. He'd used their mother's maiden name, Harris, to build a reputation free of the Brooks legacy. 6 months ago, he applied to Brooks Steakhouse, his application processed by the Western Regional Manager, who'd been impressed by his innovative approach and alignment with Brooks' philosophy. Nathan had been hired without ever crossing Daniel's desk, promoted to executive chef 3 months ago when the previous chef left abruptly. The timeline clicked. The sabotage began shortly after, likely sparked by Brandon's resentment at being passed over. Daniel leaned back, his chest tight with a mix of pride and regret. Nathan had done exactly what he'd promised, carved his own path, letting his talent speak for itself. Yet here he was, fighting a coordinated campaign to destroy him, alone in a restaurant bearing their family name. Daniel clicked through the file, finding notes from Nathan's initial interview. Embodies Brooks' commitment to quality while bringing fresh perspective. A performance review praised his specials for boosting customer retention, despite operational challenges. Then, a detail caught Daniel's eye, a personal calendar entry, circled each year July 17th, their father's birthday. Despite the rift, Nathan still honored it, just as Daniel did quietly every year. The realization hit like a punch. Nathan wasn't just a chef. He was family, carrying their father's passion for food and integrity into every dish. Daniel's mind flashed to a photo buried in his phone, a faded snapshot from their last family barbecue. Their father between them, his apron emblazoned with food with integrity. Nathan's bourbon-glazed ribeye, with its subtle nod to their father's glaze recipe, had stirred that memory during Daniel's first visit. He hadn't recognized it consciously, but his subconscious had been screaming the truth. Guilt settled over him. 7 years ago, Daniel had dismissed Nathan's culinary dreams, urging him to be practical and join the business side. He'd seen Nathan's defiance as immaturity, not ambition. Now, seeing Nathan's resilience, under Sabotage maintained quality while betrayed by his team, Daniel felt a surge of respect. But respect wasn't enough. Nathan was in a battle he didn't fully understand, and Daniel had been oblivious. A stranger in disguise eating his brother's food without seeing the family touch in every plate. He pulled out his phone, hesitating, before dialing his mother's number. She answered on the second ring, her voice warm but cautious at the early hour. "Daniel? Everything okay?" "Mom, why didn't you tell me Nathan was working for me?" he asked, his tone softer than he intended. Silence stretched, then she sighed. "He asked me not to. Said he wanted to prove himself without your shadow. I respected that, even if it hurt to see you two apart." Daniel closed his eyes. "He's in trouble, Mom. People at the restaurant are sabotaging him." "What?" Her voice sharpened. "Daniel, you have to help him." "I will," he promised. "But I need to do it right without taking away what he's fought for." After hanging up, Daniel refocused, his resolve crystallizing. He couldn't storm into the restaurant and reveal Nathan's identity. It would undermine the independence Nathan had sacrificed so much to maintain. Instead, he needed irrefutable evidence to expose the saboteurs Ashley, Emily, Stephen, and Brandon's influence while protecting Nathan's dignity. He opened the security system portal, requesting access to the restaurant's camera footage for the past month. The head of security, a trusted ally, promised to compile it discreetly by afternoon. Daniel's thoughts drifted to a moment from their childhood when Nathan, barely 10, had spent hours perfecting a burger for their father's birthday, refusing Daniel's help. "I want Dad to love it because I made it," he'd said, his small hand shaping the patty. That's stubborn. Pride was still there, in the way Nathan kept backup ingredients, worked late to review tickets, and stood tall despite the weight of betrayal. Daniel's protective instinct flared, not just for his business, but for his brother by noon. The security team delivered a hard drive with footage. Daniel locked himself in a conference room, fast-forwarding through hours of video. The evidence was damning. Ashley swapping Nathan's specialty salt, Emily delaying order tickets, servers letting food cool under heat lamps before delivery. Most incriminating was a clip of Stephen in his office, accepting an envelope from Brandon Walsh. During an after-hours visit, their handshake sealing a deal. Daniel's expression hardened, This wasn't just sabotage. It was corruption, a betrayal of everything Brooks Steakhouse stood for. He leaned back, formulating a plan. Tomorrow, he'd confront the staff, but he needed to tread carefully. Nathan's independence was sacred, a testament to his talent and grit. Daniel would expose the plot without pulling rank as his brother, not yet. He'd let the evidence speak, let justice unfold, and then face Nathan, not as the owner, but as family. As the city woke outside, Daniel felt the weight of 7 years of silence. The reckoning was coming, and it would change everything. Daniel Brooks stood in the parking lot of Brooks Steakhouse, the late afternoon sun glinting off the restaurant's glass entrance. It was 4:30 p.m., 30 minutes before the pre-dinner staff meeting, and for the first time in weeks, he wore no disguise. His charcoal suit, tailored to perfection, and Italian leather shoes announced his identity as the founder and owner. A silver Brooks Steakhouse pin gleamed on his lapel, a symbol of the legacy he built and was now determined to protect. The weight of yesterday's revelation that Chef Nathan Harris was his estranged brother, Nathan Brooks, still pressed on his chest. So did the evidence he'd compiled, security footage, order logs, and delivery records proving a coordinated sabotage plot against Nathan, orchestrated by Brandon Walsh of Prime Grill, with manager Stephen Hayes, cashiers Ashley Turner and Emily Parker, and several complicit staff as accomplices. Today, justice would be served, but Daniel's heart was heavy. This wasn't just about saving his restaurant. It was about saving his brother. He'd spent the morning finalizing his plan with his head of security, a retired detective named Carla, who'd ensured the surveillance footage was edited into a damning presentation. Daniel had also briefed his regional director to prepare for immediate staff changes. The confrontation needed to be surgical, exposing the guilty without humiliating Nathan, whose independence Daniel now respected more than ever. As he stepped toward the entrance, his phone buzzed with a text from his mother. "Be gentle with Nathan. He's stronger than you know, but he's still your brother." Daniel exhaled, pocketing the phone. Gentle, yet firm. He could do that. The hostess, a young woman named Claire, nearly dropped her scheduling tablet as Daniel entered. "Mr. Brooks, we weren't expecting you," she stammered, her eyes wide. "Unscheduled visit," Daniel said, his smile pleasant but unyielding. "Please inform Stephen I'll be joining the staff meeting. I want it held in the dining room, not the break room, and everyone must attend." Claire nodded, hurrying to the back. Daniel stood in the elegant foyer, surveying his creation with fresh eyes. Framed photos lined the walls, chronicling Brooks Steakhouse's journey. Daniel cutting the ribbon at the Chicago flagship 15 years ago. The first review in Chicago Tribune, a team photo from the chain's 10th anniversary. Nathan must have passed these images daily, keeping his secret while working in his brother's shadow. The thought tightened Daniel's throat. Word of his arrival spread like wildfire. Servers emerged from the kitchen, straightening aprons. Bartenders paused mid-polish to exchange nervous glances. Stephen Hayes appeared from his office, his face paling as he extended a hand. "Daniel, what a surprise. If I'd known you were coming, that's why I didn't announce it," Daniel interrupted, shaking the hand briefly. "I need an authentic view of operations. Let's prepare the dining room for the meeting." By 5 p.m., the staff servers, line cooks, bartenders, hosts, and cashiers formed a semicircle of tables in the dining room, their usual chatter replaced by uneasy silence. Ashley and Emily stood near the back, whispering, their expressions anxious. Liam, the loyal line cook who defended Nathan, hovered near the kitchen pass, his posture tense but curious. At the far end, slightly apart, stood Nathan in his chef's whites, his face a mask of professional neutrality. Their eyes met briefly across the room. Daniel saw a flicker of recognition, then confusion in Nathan's gaze. Did he suspect Daniel knew his true identity? Daniel gave a subtle nod, steadying himself before addressing the group. For those who don't know me personally, I'm Daniel Brooks, founder of Brooks Steakhouse. He began, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who'd built an empire from nothing. A ripple of unease spread. Several faces paled. Over the past month, I visited this location as a customer, observing operations without the filter of announced inspections. The room tensed, eyes darting. Ashley shifted uncomfortably. Stephen's smile froze. Daniel continued, pacing slowly. This restaurant was built on two principles: exceptional food and impeccable integrity. When I opened our first location, I trained every employee, checked every delivery, cooked alongside our chefs. As we've grown, I've trusted others to uphold those standards. Unfortunately, that trust has been betrayed. He gestured to a laptop on a central table, connected to a projector. I've spent the last 24 hours reviewing security footage, order logs, delivery schedules, and inventory reports. With a few keystrokes, he projected a compilation. Onto the dining room wall, the footage was merciless. Ashley swapping Nathan's specialty salt for table salt, smirking as she sealed the container. Emily sliding order tickets onto the completed spike, delaying service. Servers letting dishes cool under heat lamps before delivery. Stephen in his office, accepting a thick envelope from Brandon Walsh. Their handshake sealing a corrupt deal. The room fell deathly silent. Stephen's face drained of color, his hands trembling. Ashley and Emily shrank in their seats, their earlier bravado gone. Nathan's expression remained unreadable, though his jaw tightened slightly. Daniel's voice cut through the stillness, controlled but laced with intensity. This isn't poor performance. This is the deliberate conspiracy to undermine an executive chef, damage this restaurant's reputation, and benefit a competitor. He turned to Stephen, his gaze piercing. Would you care to explain why you're accepting payments from Brandon Walsh at Prime Grill, or shall I continue? Stephen's composure crumbled, his voice a mumble. It wasn't. Brandon and I go way back. He felt he deserved the chef position, and when Nathan got it, so you helped sabotage him. Daniel finished, his tone like steel. Aloud. My restaurant to suffer, a talented chef to be targeted, all for a kickback when Brandon took over. Or was it, Stephen? Cash? A promise of a better role? It was just business. Stephen muttered, eyes downcast. No, Daniel said sharply. Business happens in boardrooms with contracts. What you did was betrayal. You're terminated. Effective immediately. Surrender your keys and clear your office under security supervision. Carla, the head of security, stepped forward, her presence commanding. Stephen fumbled with his keyring, his face ashen, and followed her out. Daniel turned to Ashley and Emily, who looked ready to bolt. You two as well. Your final checks will be mailed. Ashley's voice quavered. Mr. Brooks, we didn't mean. You meant every action. Daniel cut in. Swapping ingredients, reading orders, laughing while customers suffered. You're done. Carla gestured, and the women shuffled out. Heads bowed. Daniel faced the remaining staff, his tone firm. Anyone else involved in this scheme has 30 seconds to come forward. After that, I'll review the remaining footage, and accomplices will face legal consequences alongside termination. 3 servers and a bartender stood reluctantly, their faces a mix of shame and fear. One, a veteran waitress named Karen, spoke up, her voice shaky. I'm sorry, Chef Nathan. I went along with it, but I shouldn't have. You didn't deserve this. Nathan nodded silently, his expression softening slightly. Daniel acknowledged her confession with a curt nod, and Carla escorted the group out. When the door closed, Daniel's demeanor shifted, his voice warmer. To those who maintained your integrity, thank you. Your loyalty hasn't gone unnoticed, especially those who did the right thing when it wasn't easy. His eyes found Liam and an older server, Margaret, who treated Nathan fairly. Expect. That reflected in your next review. Finally, he turned to Nathan, who'd remained silent, his face a complex mix of shock, vindication, and exhaustion. Chef Nathan, may I speak with you privately in the office? Nathan's eyes narrowed briefly, but he nodded. Daniel addressed the staff one last time. The rest of you, prepare for service. We open in 1 hour. Let's show Chicago what Brooks Steakhouse is made of. The staff dispersed, murmuring, their energy charged with the morning's drama. Daniel led the way to Stephen's former office, Nathan following a few steps behind. The door closed with a soft click, sealing them in a space heavy with unspoken history. Daniel turned, meeting his brother's gaze. 7 years of silence hung between them, but the truth was out. The confrontation had cleared the air, but the real reckoning between brothers was about to begin. The office door closed with a soft click, sealing Daniel Brooks and Nathan Brooks in a space heavy with 7 years of silence. The chaos of the staff meeting, where Daniel had exposed a sabotage plot against Nathan, firing manager Stephen Hayes, cashiers Ashley Turner and Emily Parker, and their accomplices still echoed in the air. The dining room beyond was abuzz with preparations for the evening service. But here, in the cramped manager's office of Brooks Steakhouse, time seemed to pause. Daniel stood by the desk, his charcoal suit slightly rumpled from the confrontation, while Nathan, in his chef's whites, faced him from the opposite wall. Their eyes met, a flicker of recognition passing between them, not just as owner and chef, but as brothers. Harris, Daniel said, a wry smile breaking the tension. Mom's maiden name, Clever. Nathan ran a hand through his dark hair, a gesture so familiar it tugged at Daniel's heart. I didn't think anyone would make the connection, he said, his voice cautious but tinged with relief. Not even you. Not at first, Daniel admitted, leaning against the desk. It was your bourbon-glazed ribeye that tipped me off. Dad's recipe, with your twist. I should have known then, but I was too busy playing undercover boss. Nathan's lips twitched, a ghost of a smile. You recognized it? Subconsciously, Daniel said. Kept me coming back, trying to figure out why your food felt like home. He shook his head, the weight of their estrangement settling over him. Nathan, I didn't know it was you until yesterday, when I saw your personnel file. The regional manager hired you independently. You earned this, every bit of it. Nathan's posture remained guarded, his eyes searching Daniel's face. So all those visits, just a coincidence? I was investigating complaints about inconsistent service, Daniel said. Had no idea I was walking into a conspiracy against my own brother. His expression softened. Your food is exceptional, Nathan. Better than mine was at your age. The compliment hung in the air, unguarded and raw. Nathan seemed unsure. How to respond, settling for a nod. What happens now? He asked, his voice low. I assume my position here is complicated. Daniel straightened, his tone deliberate. I'd like to offer you a position executive chef of this location. The role you've already earned, but with your real name on the door. No more hiding who you are. He held Nathan's gaze. This isn't charity or nepotism. You've proven yourself, maintaining quality while being sabotaged. You showed more dignity than I might have in your place. The offer stands on merit alone. Nathan's jaw tightened, his eyes flickering with emotion. And if I say no, if I want to keep making my own way, then I'll respect that, Daniel said simply. But I hope you won't. Not because I need you here, but because Brooks Steakhouse needs the best talent it can get. And that's you. He paused, his voice softening. Besides, we have 7 years to catch up on. Something shifted in Nathan's expression. A softening, a release of the tension he'd carried like armor. You really didn't know it was me, he said, almost to himself. Not until I saw your file. Daniel said, a faint laugh escaping. Though in retrospect, the precision in your plating, the way you balance flavors, pure Brooks stubbornness. Nathan smiled then, a real smile that reached his eyes. Dad always said you had the business sense, and I had the palate. He was right. He stepped forward, hesitating, then extended his hand. Partners? Daniel looked at the offered hand, then pulled Nathan into a brief, fierce embrace. Family, he corrected, his voice thick. Always. Asterisk, the moment stretched, a bridge. Rebuilt over years of distance. Nathan pulled back, clearing his throat. I almost quit, you know, he admitted. Last month, when the complaints kept piling up, cold food, wrong orders. I thought I was failing. But I stayed because I wanted to prove my dishes could stand on their own. You didn't fail, Daniel said firmly. You were betrayed, and you still made the best ribeye I've ever tasted. Nathan chuckled, the sound easing the last of the tension. Let's get through service tonight. Then we'll talk about what's next. Daniel nodded, clapping his brother on the shoulder. Deal. Lead the way, chef. 6 months later, Daniel stood at the back of the dining room, watching the Saturday night service with a satisfaction he hadn't felt in years. Brooks Steakhouse's flagship location had undergone a transformation. Under Nathan's leadership, freed from Sabotage, the restaurant had soared. Reservations were booked weeks in advance. Food critics raved about Nathan's innovative spins on steakhouse classics. And the Chicago location now topped performance metrics across all 20 Brooks restaurants. The dining room hummed with life. Servers described specials with genuine enthusiasm. The open kitchen pulsed with precision, and the clink of fine glassware mingled with the sizzle of perfectly seared steaks. Nathan joined him during a brief lull, his chef's coat now bearing his full name, Nathan Brooks, executive chef. Quarterly numbers just came in, Daniel said, handing him a tablet. You set a new record. We've set a new record, Nathan corrected, scanning the data. Lauren's been a game changer. Lauren, the new general manager brought in from a top Chicago hotel, had streamlined operations, from inventory to staff scheduling, fostering a culture of collaboration. She knows her stuff, Daniel agreed. So does the team. They watched Liam, the loyal line cook, now promoted to sous chef, execute Nathan's menu with clockwork timing. Margaret, the veteran server, guided a new hire with quiet confidence. The staff moved as a unit, their pride palpable. Dad would be proud, Daniel said softly, his eyes on the kitchen where Nathan's team worked. Of both of us, Nathan added, checking his watch. Speaking of which, I invited Mom to dinner tonight. She's due any minute. Daniel turned, surprised. You didn't tell me. Nathan grinned. Payback for your undercover routine. Daniel laughed, clapping his brother on the shoulder. Fair enough. They moved toward the foyer, where framed photos chronicled the restaurant's history. Daniel paused at one of himself and Nathan as kids, helping their father grill at a family barbecue. The memory felt closer now, no longer buried under years of resentment. The transformation hadn't been easy. In the weeks following the confrontation, Daniel and Nathan had worked to rebuild trust with the staff. Nathan led by example, mentoring Liam and sharing recipes, while Daniel implemented new oversight protocols to prevent future sabotage. They'd also launched a charity event, donating a night's proceeds to a local culinary school, reinforcing their commitment to community, a nod to their father's belief that food should uplift. Nathan's specials, like a dry-aged porterhouse with smoked herb butter, became the talk of Chicago's dining scene, drawing new customers and loyal regulars alike. As they reached the entrance, their mother, Ellen, stepped out of a car, her smile radiant. My boys, she said, pulling them into a hug. Together again. Welcome to Brooks Steakhouse, Mom. Nathan said, gesturing to the bustling dining room. "Best table in the house." Ellen's eyes glistened. "Your father would love this." Dinner was a celebration. Nathan's ribeye, a bottle of Napa Valley Cabernet, stories of their childhood spilling out between bites. Daniel caught Nathan teaching Liam a new sauce technique during a kitchen check-in, his brother now a mentor in his own right. Later, as they walked Ellen to her car, Nathan nudged Daniel. "I heard Prime Grill's numbers are down 30% since Brandon took over. Turns out Sabotage isn't the same as talent." "Their loss, our gain," Daniel said, grinning. Through the restaurant's windows, the glow of amber lights and the murmur of happy diners painted a picture of success, not just financial, but human. Daniel lingered in the foyer after Ellen left, watching Nathan direct the closing service. What began as a quality check had uncovered betrayal, reunited family, and strengthened a legacy. Success, Daniel realized, wasn't just about profit or praise. It was about integrity, the kind Nathan showed under pressure, the kind Daniel fought to uphold. The road ahead would have challenges, but with his brother by his side, Daniel was ready. Brooks Steakhouse wasn't just a business. It was family, forged in fire and food, stronger for the trials they'd overcome. The story of Daniel and Nathan Brooks is a powerful ode to the humanity that shines through our choices, even amidst betrayal and ambition. Beyond the sizzling steaks and bustling dining rooms of Brooks Steakhouse, it's a tale of integrity, family, and the courage to stand for what's right. Nathan's resilience under sabotage and Daniel's pursuit of justice reveal the strength of character that defines true success. This narrative resonates because it mirrors our own struggles moments, when we must choose between self-interest and honor. Through legacy stories, we can continue to explore such tales, finding inspiration in the triumphs of the human spirit. At its core, this story celebrates integrity as a beacon in a world often clouded by greed. Nathan, facing relentless sabotage, never compromised his craft, delivering exceptional dishes despite swapped ingredients and rigged orders. His choice to work under his mother's maiden name, Harris, reflects a deep commitment to earning his place without leaning on family ties. Daniel, too, embodies integrity, risking his restaurant's stability to uncover the truth and protect his brother. Their actions, Nathan's perseverance, Daniel's fairness remind us that humanity thrives when we prioritize principle over profit, especially in high-stakes environments like Chicago's competitive dining scene. Two profound lessons emerge. First, integrity is the foundation of lasting success. Nathan's talent shone because he stayed true to his values, proving that hard work and honesty outlast deceit. Daniel's methodical exposure of the saboteurs shows that justice, when rooted in evidence and fairness, restores trust. Second, family is a strength worth rebuilding. The brothers' reconciliation, forged through mutual respect, teaches us that healing old wounds can lead to greater triumphs. These lessons apply beyond restaurants, to workplaces, communities, and homes, urging us to act with honor and cherish our bonds. Stories like the Brooks brothers' journey remind us why. We need narratives that uplift and challenge. Legacy Stories is dedicated to sharing tales of courage, integrity, and connection, stories that inspire us to reflect on our own choices. By subscribing to Legacy Stories on your favorite platform, you'll join a community celebrating the power of doing right, no matter the cost. Don't miss more heartwarming sagas of ordinary people creating extraordinary legacies. Subscribe today, share your thoughts, and let's keep these stories alive. Together, we can find hope and purpose in the tales that shape our world.